The Rift, Chapter 7, A New Hope, Part 2 by Roll Studio. After the rush of equipping Thor's battle armor, Alex's pulse finally begins to settle. The storm of power coursing through his veins gradually quiets, but his mind remains alert. The adrenaline is still high, and he knows he needs to make the most of this moment. His eyes dart back to the pile of loot. With cautious determination, he begins to rummage through it once more, his hands sifting through the remnants of his fallen enemies. The chaotic battle may have ended, but its rewards are just beginning. As his fingers brush across something smooth and cold, Alex freezes. He pulls out 3 small vials filled with a shimmering, iridescent liquid. The liquid inside seems alive, swirling in intricate patterns as if responding to his touch. What are these? He brings one closer, eyeing it suspiciously. A quick scan with his appraisal spell causes a status window to flash before him. Elixir, a rare potion capable of healing all wounds and curing all ailments. This is the ultimate restorative item. His eyes widen, his breath catching in his throat. An elixir. 3 of them. The weight of what he's holding sinks in. These aren't just any potions, they're the stuff of legend. In his previous world, elixirs were impossibly rare, the kind of item players saved for only the most desperate moments. 1 sip could reverse any injury, cleanse any poison, even bring someone back from the brink of death. He tucks the vials away, feeling a new kind of tension building in his chest. These are more than just potions. They could be the difference between life and death in future battles. He knows he can't afford to waste them. Before he can dwell too long on the significance of the elixirs, his hand brushes against something hard and rough. He pulls out a small rectangular stone with strange glowing engravings running across its surface. The moment he touches it, the stone pulses, sending a ripple of energy up his arm. What the? The stone's engravings flare with light, casting a soft glow around him. He quickly casts an appraisal spell, eager to understand what this new artifact is. Resurrection Stone. A powerful rune capable of bringing a fallen ally back to life, can only be used once. His heart skips a beat. A resurrection stone. The gravity of the item is staggering. It's the kind of power that could shift the tide of any battle. The ability to defy death itself, but it's limited, one use only. Resurrection stone. I can bring someone back, but I have to be careful. It's a one-time deal. He swallows hard, tucking the stone away with reverence. He's not sure when he'll need it, but when that moment comes, it will be crucial. The sheer potential of the stone weighs heavily on him, knowing that life and death could hinge on this one item. His hands continue to move through the pile until they land on something that clinks softly. He pulls out a treasure chest, its lid slightly ajar, revealing a cascade of gold coins inside. The glint of the coins reflects in his eyes, the sheer volume of wealth nearly overwhelming. Gold. A whole chest of it. He chuckles, the absurdity of it hitting him. Now I'm rich. He laughs harder, the tension from the earlier battle slowly melting away. For a brief moment it feels good to let go, to revel in the absurdity of suddenly finding himself in possession of more gold than he could ever spend. But his attention is quickly pulled to something else. Amid the items, a simple pendant catches his eye, its soft glow setting it apart from the rest of the loot. He picks it up, examining it closely. The moment he puts it on, an overwhelming sense of clarity washes over him. His body, still sore from the battle, instantly feels rejuvenated. The aches in his muscles fade away, his fatigue lifts, and even the slight dizziness he hadn't noticed before vanishes completely. Whoa! What is this pendant? He takes a deep breath, feeling more alive than he has in hours. His mind is sharp, his body is refreshed. He feels like he's been reborn, completely new. It's like I've been given a second wind, like nothing can stop me now. For a moment he basks in the feeling, the knowledge that his body is fully healed and ready for whatever comes next. Then something pulls him back to the present. The faint scent of smoke fills the air, and he turns his attention to the battlefield around him. Hundreds of demon corpses that once littered the ground are now turning to ash. their forms crumbling and disintegrating into the wind. The scene is eerie, the ashes swirling into the sky like smoke fading into nothingness. But something else catches his eye. There are still countless items scattered across the ground, shimmering faintly in the dim light. Dozens, maybe hundreds of them, all waiting to be collected. And that's when frustration bubbles up inside him. How the hell am I going to pick up all these items? The sheer number of them is overwhelming. If he were to collect them all by hand, it could take hours, time he doesn't have. He paces for a moment, his mind racing. There has to be a faster way, some spell or ability that could help him. Then a sudden idea strikes him. He raises his hand, his brow furrowed in concentration. He's never tried this before, but maybe, just maybe it'll work. He focuses on the items scattered around him, imagining them all coming together in one place. Gather all. For a moment, nothing happens. His heart pounds in his chest, doubt creeping in. But then, to his astonishment, the items begin to shift. Slowly at first, they lift from the ground, floating toward him like a wave of treasures. His eyes widen in shock as the sheer mass of loot begins to gather, shimmering and glittering in the air. The sound of clinking metal fills the space around him as the items surge toward him in a steady stream. The storage box in his inventory suddenly materializes in front of him, its lid open wide. One by one, the items are sucked inside, vanishing into the endless space within. Alex watches in awe as the last of the loot disappears into the box, leaving the battlefield empty. He blinks, stunned by the ease of it all. Now that's convenient. He can't help but smile. The power at his fingertips, it's incredible. The ability to command the world around him, to bend it to his will with just a word, is exhilarating. And yet, it's also terrifying. As he looks around at the now empty battlefield, he realizes that this is only the beginning. He has only scratched the surface of the power he's been granted. Each piece of loot, each new ability brings him closer to something greater. Something far beyond anything he could have imagined. I'm getting stronger, but so are my enemies. Whatever comes next, I'll need every bit of power I can get. Alex stands amidst the emptied battlefield, his storage box now filled with the spoils of victory. He knows he's gathered more than just gold and potions. There's an overwhelming feeling in his gut that something monumental lies within his inventory. With a deep breath, he opens his storage screen, his fingers flicking through the items. Rows upon rows of newly acquired gear fill the screen. Most of them are rare items, their glowing descriptions indicating their value. Some are legendary, imbued with powers that make Alex's heart race just reading about them. But then his eyes catch on something truly extraordinary. Several mythical items. Gear of such rarity and power that only a handful of players in his old game had ever laid eyes on them. So many mythical items. This loot is insane. He scrolls further, his pulse quickening with every discovery. But then a new pop-up appears, one that makes his heart skip a beat. You have completed the armor set. Thor's battle armor. Equip? Yes. No. For a moment, Alex is frozen, his finger hovering over the yes button. He knows what this means. Thor's battle armor wasn't just a piece of equipment, it was legendary. A set that, when fully equipped, could turn its wearer into a living storm, a force of nature. His finger twitches. Thor's battle armor. This could be the key to surviving what's coming. But once I equip it, there's no going back. He feels a weight in his chest, a mix of excitement and hesitation, but in the end, there's no real choice to be made. He clicks yes. Suddenly the sky above him darkens and a thunderous boom shakes the earth. A bolt of lightning descends from the clouds, striking him with blinding force. For a split second, the world is pure light and sound, the power of the gods themselves coursing through his veins. When the light fades, Alex is no longer the same. His body is now encased in gleaming armor, glowing with an otherworldly light. His heart pounds as he looks down at himself, his mind reeling at the transformation. Thor's battle armor is not just a suit, it's a living conduit for the power of Asgard. He immediately pulls up his status screen, needing to see it with his own eyes. The armor's stats fill the display, each one more unbelievable than the last. Thor's battle armor, an ancient item also known as Asgardian armor, crafted from enchanted metals and fabrics unique to Asgard. His eyes scan the description, his heart racing faster with every line. The suit is designed for both combat and protection, reflecting Asgard's advanced technology and magical heritage. It provides incredible durability and resistance to various forms of damage, chainmail, plates, and magical enhancements woven together. It reduces physical and magical attacks by 80%. Lightning damage immunity boosts all lightning-based attacks by 200%. He swallows hard, the weight of the armor pressing down on him, yet at the same time filling him with boundless energy. 200% boost to lightning attacks, and I'm immune to lightning damage. This is insane, but the armor isn't done impressing him. His eyes flick to the final section of the stats, where the most powerful abilities are listed. Additional lightning damage when attacking. Any damage taken is converted into lightning and repelled back to attackers. It's like I'm a walking storm, an untouchable force. He flexes his fingers, feeling the raw power of the armor ripple through his body. The air around him hums with energy, faint arcs of electricity dancing across the surface of his new suit. It's like the armor is alive, constantly feeding off the energy of the world around him. He takes a deep breath, his heart still hammering in his chest. This isn't just an upgrade, this is a game changer. Thor's battle armor is more than just equipment, it's a weapon in its own right, a divine tool that will make him nearly unstoppable. I'm not just Alex anymore, I'm a living storm. His thoughts trail off as he raises his hand, testing the power of the armor. Lightning crackles around his fingertips, responding to his will as if it's an extension of his own body. With a flick of his wrist, he sends a bolt of electricity arcing into the sky, splitting the clouds with a deafening crack. I'm literally a walking storm. The possibilities race through his mind, each one more thrilling than the last. With this armor, he's no longer bound by the limits of his human form. He's become something more, something powerful enough to face the challenges that lie ahead. But there's also a weight that comes with this newfound strength. Alex knows that this kind of power will attract attention, the kind of attention that could bring even more dangerous enemies to his doorstep, the kind of power that could tip the scales in battles to come. He glances at the ashes still swirling around him, remnants of the demons he's just vanquished. Even now, their presence lingers, a reminder that the fight is far from over. This armor isn't just for show, it's a tool, a weapon, and I'll need every advantage I can get. After equipping Thor's battle armor, Alex's mind is still buzzing with the surge of power he now wields. But there's more loot to sift through, and his eyes flick back to the storage window. Rows of rare weapons appear before him, their stats glowing faintly, each one possessing unique powers. He scrolls down, noticing ultra-rare weapons and even a few epic ones nestled among the collection. This is insane. I've never seen this many powerful weapons in one place. Just as he's about to inspect one of the ultra-rare swords, a faint buzzing fills his ears. He looks down at his side, where his blade, Beelzebub, begins to hum and vibrate. The weapon seems hungry. What the... Suddenly a prompt appears in his status window, catching him completely off guard. Would you like to feed all the weapons in the storage box to Beelzebub? Yes, no. Alex's brow furrows in confusion, his heart racing. Beelzebub feeds on weapons? He'd never heard of such a mechanic in the game before, but the idea of strengthening his already powerful blade makes his pulse quicken with excitement. Almost impulsively, before he can think it through, his finger hovers over the yes option. Is this even a good idea? But the excitement is too much. He clicks yes. The moment he does, Beelzebub's blade opens up, splitting like the jaws of a monstrous beast. A crimson glow pulses from within as a vortex forms, sucking every single weapon from Alex's storage box into its gaping maw. Rare, ultra-rare and epic weapons, everything is consumed in a matter of seconds. The atmosphere changes. The air grows heavier as Beelzebub's blade begins to radiate an intense red light, flashing like a heartbeat. Then another prompt appears. Would you like Beelzebub to evolve? Yes, no? Alex's heart skips a beat. Evolve? A weapon that can evolve? His eyes widen in disbelief as his mind struggles to process what he's seeing. A weapon that can evolve? He's never seen anything like this. The game never mentioned a mechanic for evolving weapons, let alone something as powerful as Beelzebub. His hands tremble slightly as he hovers over the yes button again, knowing that this could unlock powers he's never dreamed of. But there's no hesitation this time. He clicks yes. Beelzebub pulses violently, emitting a blinding red light that engulfs the entire area. Alex shields his eyes as the intensity grows, and for a moment it feels like the blade is going to tear itself apart. But then, just as quickly as it started, the light begins to fade. When the red glow diminishes, a new window pops up on his status screen. Evolution will be completed in 72 hours. All of Beelzebub's stats are now locked. Alex stares at the screen, his mind reeling. 3 days. He would have to wait 3 whole days to see what kind of weapon Beelzebub would become. 72 hours, and all its stats are locked until then? He looks down at Beelzebub, now inert, its once terrifying aura completely subdued. For now it's just an ordinary sword, though Alex knows it's anything but ordinary. The potential waiting to be unlocked in 3 days is something he can't even begin to imagine. He gently sheathes the blade and places it into his storage box, his mind racing with thoughts of what Beelzebub might become. I'll wait for you, my friend. In 3 days, you'll be something else entirely. He closes the storage box, still feeling the weight of what's to come. The battlefield around him is eerily quiet now, the ash from the defeated demons drifting slowly in the wind. But Alex knows that the real battles are still ahead, and he'll need every ounce of power to survive them. As he turns to leave, a small smile plays on his lips. With Thor's battle armor equipped and Beelzebub set to evolve, he's never felt more prepared for what lies ahead. 3 days, and everything changes. 3 days, and everything changes. After placing Beelzebub into his storage box, Alex exhales deeply, his mind still buzzing from the intense series of events. His gaze shifts to the overwhelming array of items stored within his inventory, but one particular thought crosses his mind, the weapon he had taken from the Overlord. Wait, Michael, I need to check if it's still there. Without wasting a second, Alex quickly scrolls through his storage, his eyes dart from one item to another until, with a breath of relief, he spots it. The glowing white dagger, flaming sword Michael. I thought Beelzebub might have devoured it. Guess that monster can only feast on lower-tier items. Michael's safe. He pauses for a moment, letting the tension slip away. His fingers hover over the divine weapon, the blade that once belonged to an archangel. The thought of wielding such an artifact still fills him with awe. But now's not the time to marvel. He has to move on. His mind wanders for a second, recalling another item that he had picked up, the crimson dagger. He flicks through the storage again, but as he feared, it's no longer there. Beelzebub must have devoured the crimson dagger. Shame. It had potential, but maybe it's for the best. Beelzebub will be stronger after its evolution. He shakes his head, casting aside the regret as he continues to scan the sea of loot in his storage. Armors of all kinds are lined up neatly, enchanted rings, pendants and charms glittering in his inventory window, each exuding faint magical auras. His fingers trace over a new stack of potions, 18 more elixirs, shimmering like liquid gold. 18 elixirs? I've never even seen this many in one place. With these, I could heal an entire army. Further down, he finds more rune stones, 3 more resurrection stones, and several magic crystals of different colors and sizes. The sheer abundance of items makes his head spin. So many crystals. Each one could probably power a city for days. Or maybe unleash something catastrophic. I'll have to figure out what each one does later. As Alex stood there, still amazed by the wave of loot being drawn into his storage, he noticed something unusual mixed in with the treasure. Along with weapons, armor, and potions, there were also countless demon parts. Horns, fangs, claws, eyes, wings, and other grotesque remains of the creatures he'd just fought. He watched in both fascination and disgust as the macabre collection floated towards him. Each part carried its own faint, sinister aura, as if traces of demonic energy still lingered in them. The storage box sucked in the items one by one without hesitation, cataloguing them alongside the more valuable treasures. Alex muttered to himself, "What am I even supposed to do with demon parts? Crafting, maybe?" He shuddered, imagining what dark creations could be made from such materials, but deep down he knew that their significance might be far greater than just spare monster parts. With each passing second, the pile of demonic remains continued to dwindle as they disappeared into the storage box. The last to be absorbed was the massive, hollow eye of a demon overlord. Its lifeless stare seemed to follow Alex before finally vanishing into the storage void. "Guess I'll figure it out later," Alex said, unease creeping into his voice. He couldn't shake the feeling that these parts might have a hidden potential, perhaps for crafting powerful items, or maybe something far darker. He pauses for a moment, looking over the vast inventory, a feeling of both excitement and overwhelming responsibility settling in. His mind races with thoughts of what he could do with all this newfound power. But now isn't the time to analyze every item. He straightens up, closing his storage window with a flick of his hand, his focus shifting to a more immediate concern. "I'll check all of this later. Right now, I need to head back to the convenience store. They're waiting for me." With one final glance at the battlefield, still strewn with the ashes of fallen demons, Alex turns and begins walking away, his steps firm and his thoughts clear. The weight of the divine sword Michael and the evolving Beelzebub linger in the back of his mind, but for now, his focus is on the people he swore to protect. The scene fades as Alex strides toward the convenience store, knowing that his journey is far from over, but armed with the knowledge that he's stronger than ever before. To be continued. The Rift, Chapter 8, The Calm Before the Storm.